ever tried building the same app for like both Android and iOS?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pain, yeah.
It's a huge pain.
So today, we're diving into Expo.
Okay.
It's a tool that basically says, like, hey, we can make cross-platform development, building an app that works on your iPhone and your Android. Super easy, a breeze.
Right.
So we've got their documentation, and we are, pulling out the need-to-know info, especially for those of you out there just starting out.
Yeah, what I find interesting about Expo is that they're really tackling this challenge head on, this idea of cross-platform development. Because, traditionally building an app for different operating systems, you're talking different code bases, different languages, different tools. It's a mess. Expo tries to streamline that by providing this unified platform, a set of tools that work ideally seamlessly across these different platforms.
Yeah, and their tagline is build one project, run it everywhere.
I like that.
And the best part, I think, at least from my perspective, is you can get started insanely fast.
Right.
Just type in, are you ready for this NPX Create Expo app latest?
Okay.
Boom. You're ready to go.
I love that ease of getting started, especially for beginners, because it lets you really focus on learning those core fundamentals of building an app without getting bogged down in like the configuration hell.
Totally.
And speaking of core fundamentals, they have this really cool thing called Expo Router, which sounds way more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
But
it's like instead of the old way of like navigating between screens in your app, which could be, all over the place, this is more like how you would organize files on your computer.
Exactly. It's file-based routing, which not only makes your project structure cleaner, but it can also significantly speed up your development time because you're spending less time figuring out how to connect different parts of your app and more time actually building the features that you want.
Mm-hmm. And that's where their application services come in.
Right.
Which, I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, application services?
Yeah.
That sounds very vague.
Yeah.
But imagine this. You're building like a social media app, and you want this app to, be fetching new notifications, even when the user's not actively using it.
Right.
That's a background task. That's complicated.
Right.
Expo handles that for you.
Yeah, it's like having this team of engineers working behind the scenes to make sure your app is running smoothly and efficiently.
It's like magic. And if you ever hit a snag, Expo has fantastic learning resources.
Yes, absolutely.
So, like, for example, let's say, I'm sold. I want to try Expo out.
Okay.
What's like the first step I should do?
So they have this really cool feature called Expo Snack. And I remember like when I first discovered this, I was blown away because you can essentially experiment with Expo directly in your browser.
Wow.
No installation, no setup, just pure coding joy. So you can play around with different APIs, layouts.
It's like a playground.
Exactly. It's a playground for app development.
I love that.
And if you want to take a more structured approach, their documentation is super thorough. Plus, they have a really active community on Discord. Oh, nice.
And they even host office hours for like live Q&A, which I think is really cool.
Having access to that kind of support, those multiple perspectives from other developers is like so invaluable.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about like the actual building blocks, right? Expo APIs, it's pretty impressive from what I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
You got APIs for the camera, push notifications. What else they got?
Oh, they got tons more. Location services, so you can like find points of interest nearby. You've got payment integration if you want to do e-commerce stuff. They even have APIs for things like Bluetooth communication, which opens up a whole world of possibilities for interacting with smart devices and things like that.
Yeah, you're talking. And speaking of cool stuff, you had mentioned, I think before we started recording, their app.js conf talks.
Yes. Do you have any recommendations, especially for, someone brand new to Expo that they should check out?
Absolutely. So for someone who's just starting out, I think getting the most out of Expo development builds sounds right up your alley because it really dives into the tools and techniques for optimizing your development workflow.
Okay.
And then another one that caught my eye, which I think you might find interesting, is fetch once, render everywhere.
Ooh.
Talking about strategies for efficiently sharing data fetching logic across your app, making it faster, more responsive, which is really important, especially for that smooth cross-platform experience.
So if we're going to wrap this up in a nice little bow, what does Expo really offer someone like our listener who's listening right now? I mean, it sounds like it really simplifies this, what seems like a very daunting task of building a mobile app, especially one that works on both iOS and Android.
It is, and that's a game changer, especially if you're an independent developer or part of a small team and you have limited resources. Expo can really level the playing field.
Level the playing field. I like that.
Which raises a good question. If Expo makes building these cross-platform apps so approachable, what kind of app are you going to build?
Mm.
Are you going to use their camera API to create an image recognition app? Or use the social features to connect people in new and interesting ways? I would definitely recommend going to their site, exploring their Explore APIs section. You might be surprised by what sparks your imagination.
That's awesome.